Hello, Sagittarius family, and welcome to February 2020. Okay, so I've been doing a few of these readings for the month of February. And I will tell you right now that a lot of signs are having a very profound February. And it is a profound month. When I think about what we unearthed and what we did in December and January with eclipse season and the Saturn Pluto conjunction and the shift into a new year, it's been pretty big. And so stepping into February is kind of like finding your sea legs in a new reality, in a new energy, in a new lifestyle, and having to learn really quickly and having to adjust and going through some mini deaths. But what's really cool is I always love it when I land on a sign and I'm looking through the energies and it's like the transits are really supportive of you. And you are definitely in a very supportive transit month. Doesn't mean there's not a challenge in that, right? But there's a sense that, you're on your path and everything's clicking, right? So the first thing to kind of pay attention to, kind of the popular thing that you'll be noticing coming up a lot in any astrology discussions, is the Mercury retrograde for this month. We start the pre-shadow phase on February 1st, so right away. Then Mercury enters Pisces on February 3rd, and then Mercury starts its retrograde on February 17th. And it will go retrograde back into the last degrees of Aquarius until March 10th, in which point it will go forward and be direct again on March 29th, and get out of post-shadow phase on March 29th, excuse me. So most of this retrograde, the vast majority of it, is going to be in Pisces. Now, this is your fellow mutable sign, Saggies. So, and if you are a Sag rising like myself, this is going to be hitting your fourth house of your home and your family. You're hidden, your moon, a very tender part of your life. Now, I'm a really big fan of Mercury retrogrades. I think the myth and the fear surrounding Mercury retrograde is that it's really scary if we're suddenly not being productive and talking all the time and moving and growing and changing and being on top of our game all the time. And because we've been culturally trained to think that way, we've also been culturally trained to obsess about Mercury and these retrogrades. But what they're really doing there is growth, just like going to the gym every day. If you are training for a marathon or any kind of competition and you don't take rest days and you keep destroying that muscle material in those demanding workouts, you never give yourself that chance to build those beautiful new muscles. And February really has that feeling of needing to build those muscle tissues again. After eclipse season and all of that. And so this Mercury retrograde is helping us do that. So that's happening in a really tender, I think, juicy part of your chart where you can let greater love in. Ooh, two cards wanted to come out. King of Pentacles and Two of Swords. All right, there's some rest energy for sure. There's some reflection energy going on there. There's something going on there about making choices about the roots and foundations you're laying and really getting to curate that this month. We'll get into that in a little bit. So you got that going on. You will also have Venus moving into Aries on February 7th. Fellow fire sign. This is fifth house creative energy. Venus being in your fifth house is such a boon for you to explore how you want to create. How you want to create maybe differently. Seven of Wands. Such a Sagittarian card. I love it. You guys are funny. It's very creative, ooey gooey, beautiful energy. We have a full moon in Leo on February 9th, lighting up your ninth house of, how you see the world. You rule the ninth house, Sagittarius. This is all about the philosophy, your worldview, your spiritual worldview, and you getting an illumination about how maybe you're adjusting that, maybe how you're connecting in with it more deeply. So these are really beautiful transits. We have Mars moving into Capricorn. When is he moving in there? On the 16th of the month. And Mars moving into your second house, your neighboring sign there. It's giving you so much juicy, good energy for like connecting to value, connecting to worthiness, connecting to like the way you let resources work with you in a very grounded and clear and crisp way. So really good energy here. And then of course, as we move into Pisces season, we move from the Aquarian energy, which I really love Aquarius season, which is very experimental, very curious about what happens if, what happens if we go past the bounds of the known? What happens if we explore around this corner? What happens if we open up in these certain ways? We move from that third house, that very communicative throat chakra energy for Sagittarians, into that fourth house of the ooey gooey juicy vulnerability. So the thing that I notice with these transits is that they are the Lovers. Ooh, I just got shivers for that one. The transits here are really in your corner. They want you to feel valued. They want you to feel bolstered. They want you to feel creative. They want you to feel open to letting a new paradigm kind of come in and help you. Strength. I love it. So good. That full moon in Leo is going to be so great for the fire signs. That energy is so good for fire signs, especially as we are far away from a lot of fire energy in the sky at the moment. Having a Leo full moon is going to be very helpful. But these transits are here to infuse you with all of that. The Tower, oh my God. I am telling you, this card, this is so spooky because this card's been coming out this month. I'm not kidding. Like, you are far from alone. And so I'm starting to get the feeling that I don't know how many signs have gotten the Tower so far, like 5 maybe? 5. And I've only done 8 discussions so far. It's starting to make me realize that there is something going on with the collective during this month that is we're breaking an old dynamic. The Tower is a really powerful symbol. I'm going to finish shuffling for you guys, but of toppling the aristocracy, right? Of toppling a power dynamic, an oligarchy, an oppressive regime, out of its seat of power. And I mean, I think we can all agree right now we are at a point of really big, momentous, bold energy when it comes to this stuff, and it's coming up again and again and again. So I'm not surprised it's showing up. I'm getting shivers. The thing is, it works on multiple levels because, there is a sense that we cannot keep these dynamics in place. It cannot sustain, right? It can't work that way. 9 of Cups. Oh my God. This is what's so funny, you all, and this is such a Sagittarian thing. Like, there's like so much positivity around this Tower. I think that's hilarious because it's like the Strength card and the 9 of Cups are on the Tower. Like, this is so amazing. It's so like, Sagittarians always get teased for being positive even when things are like burning to the ground and getting lightning striked out. But the thing with the Tower is that it works on multiple levels. Yes, it works on this power structure level of like, we have power structures and people with huge amounts of wealth and power that it's all wonky. It's getting weird things happening, right? But it starts with us. It starts with our own inner dictators. It starts with our own inner oligarchy and the way that we treat ourselves. And so these things can work simultaneously and often do. So while the collective is going through this transition, you're finding it's happening in yourself as well. We'll get to the Tower and how funny it is that it's surrounded by the nicest cards and the most like consistent, serene energies you've ever seen in your life. Because like I said, this month is infusing you with the tools you need to really embrace your future and to embrace a big, bold identity. And I know that some of you have felt a little nervous to fully embrace who you've been. It's kind of been a surprise over the last few months to realize that, like, you may have thought you knew who you're going to be like in 6 months ago. You kind of had an idea, or a year ago, maybe you had a concept of what you thought you were supposed to be working on, what you thought you were supposed to be focusing on. And then over the last few months, it's really been revolutionized and changed. And now it's this whole other trajectory, and you're being asked again and again to like embrace it. And this month is really, like I said, all these energies are like, yeah, go into that. In fact, the note that I had for you is that this big creative vision, this big ooey gooey wild storm of placements for you is surprising. It brings in surprise resolutions. It brings in surprise problem solving things and ways to move forward. And that's what I'm noticing. So, like I said, the first message that came through is this discernment about your foundation and really choosing the roots you want to build. And this can feel a bit naked when you're really honest about where you want to plant your seeds and where you want to put your future. And you're starting to, and you notice that the choices you're making are facilitating that big, bold future that you're asking for. There is a vulnerability and a nudity with yourself, with your inner critic, with your inner oligarchy, where you can sometimes feel as though you're the peasant coming in and asking for, I want to have, this space to create and grow really, really wholesome crops and to build a safe, warm home for my family. And you have this fear that this aristocracy is going to laugh you out of the room. But of course, this is an inner dynamic. And when you realize that it's all a mirage, that you're allowed to ask for these things and discern and take your time to listen in to the moon logic here, right? Before you start using those swords, you'll notice that you are allowed to ask for it, that you in fact are not a peasant, nor are you an aristocracy, right? And it's so interesting because this conversation as well, part of what's getting activated here is that Aquarian energy is all about the collective. It's all about the people. The people coming together. And Leo energy is all about the leader, the ruler. And we have Aquarius, we have the Aquarius sun facing off against the Leo moon. And the thing with this axis is we need them both. But the healthy dynamic there is that they are one and the same. The unhealthy dynamic is that there is a lowly people and there is this highfalutin leader, right? And that needs to dissolve. So that's part of what's getting challenged in the Tower energy. However, okay, let's get back to Sagittarius specifically. So you're building some roots here. You're really making some commitments. And that, like I said, can feel very vulnerable and naked. But here's the thing. You're meant to go on this journey. You are meant to forge ahead. I love the Seven of Wands and the Six of Swords together is a really interesting combination because Seven of Wands is often about really dominating your field, getting in there, being on that higher ground, and competitively speaking, being really powerful. But I also see somebody who's just willing to get out there, be bad at something, be visible, and just trying, going for it, right? And the Six of Swords often has a lot to do with the melancholy of leaving something behind that no longer serves. And I think these go hand in hand very well together because as we're building roots, as we're making commitments, making commitments in love, making commitments in where we want to live, making commitments in where we're putting our monetary resources or our energy resources, we are often, especially for making bold moves that really reflect who we are now, not who we were last year or any other time in our lives, we are also actively saying goodbye to an old shell or casing. And that's a really great thing. And it's actually a beautiful moment of transition, but it's bittersweet at times. In choosing to live in a specific place or in choosing to travel a lot, you are also choosing maybe to be further away from a place that makes you feel grounded or that used to connect with you and make you feel safe, right? So there's a boldness in this energy that is pushing you forward, to keep pursuing this next iteration of yourself and to get more familiar with it, more comfortable with it. And there is a big steep learning curve in February. We are just learning. We're like toddlers learning how to walk and run. And that is a steep learning curve. But, toddlers learn very quickly. They keep at it. And very quickly, they are walking around and doing all sorts of stuff in a house, right? Same thing here. And here's the thing, you guys. Okay, these top four cards are just blowing my mind in every single way. It's so typically Sagittarian. It's cracking me up. Like, I can't stop laughing because it's like so much good is all around this tower. Like, the Lovers, Strength, and the Nine of Cups are just surrounding this tower. Yeah. What can I say, right? Okay. I'm like trying to figure out how to even begin this. I think when we accept the learning curve, we decide we want to learn those new skills. We want to learn how to be in greater ease. We want to learn how to be in greater harmony with our surroundings, with our partner, with love, with our creative voice. When we want to allow these things in and we start to act toward ourselves and toward our day in a way that really honors this level of ease and love and connection and creativity. Because that's what these are all about. These are about very consistent experiences of that type of empowerment that comes from authentic conversation and authentic creative leadership vision. Authentic loving, authentic allowing of somebody to love us. When we start to act in a way that connects with that, the tower does happen. It happens. Because, like I was saying, the aristocratic model cannot survive in love. Imprisoning, top-down power dynamics like this cannot survive in authenticity, in love. It doesn't work. And so when you have an inner autocrat, you have an inner dictator, you have situations in your life that mirror that, and you start to live in a way where you are really honoring connections that work for you, when you are really letting yourself be authentic, those things that really mirror the dictator mentality are blaring and obvious, and they often sweep right out very quickly. And so there is kind of like that surprise element to the tower, right? It can be like, whoa, that happened really fast. I didn't see that coming. But it's because it doesn't fit. One of these things is not like the other. I think we can play that game with these top four cards. And the thing is that whatever's getting blasted out, whatever dictatorial energy there, whatever inner power dynamic when it comes to love and value and lifestyle and what you are building that doesn't fit, will be really obvious, blaring, flow out, and you're held. I love that the Nine of Cups is the last card because you're held. Like, the Nine of Cups is the stability of consistent love, consistent emotional showing up, consistent presence with yourself, and when you have that with the people around you as well, right? Consistency doesn't look like just being cheerful all day like this. That's not necessary. Consistency is, okay, I'm feeling some anxiety, or I'm feeling some grief, or I'm feeling some sadness, or I'm feeling a big upgrade. Okay, I'm going to feel that. Doesn't mean I'm going to abandon myself and go on a bender or text that person that's really caustic to me. I'm going to feel this. And then in a few hours, I'm also going to go take that walk. I'm also going to write in my journal a little bit. I'm also going to call that best friend who gets it. That's consistency, right? And it's there. So the thing that's going on here is everything is pointing you. It's like a compass. It's like, here's your North Star. Anything that's based on this old power dynamic will not stand within this environment. And it's really going to be clear. So there's where some of the surprise could come from. There's where some of the you might surprise yourself, Sagittarians. I think you may surprise yourself with the bold, powerful path you are on. And I mean that in the best way. I just think that this month there's a clearing of any permission. You're giving yourself the permission to fully be this big, bold. I mean, it's big. You're asking for something. You're asking to fully step into that. I know I'm feeling this. I'm a Sag rising with you all, and woo, I am feeling this so much. I think February is just going to be a big month. Okay, so I have a bowl of words, key words that I wrote out for February, for the month of February. I'm going to shuffle around in here and pick one for you all. Discernment. Ooh, interesting. Discernment, but I like it. I like it. Like I was saying with the first two cards, that discernment of, and I think discernment is such an amazing skill set to have. Discerning between when we feel we have to do something because it's a duty and we're doing it out of guilt, we're doing it out of fear, we're doing it out of we won't survive if we don't do this thing. Discerning between that and what we want to ask for. What really is truly what we want to ask for, what we really want to let the people we love know that we need or want. Discernment in choosing, okay, I'm laying these foundations because that's really what I want. That's really who I am. Discerning between the fear that you're not enough and the fear that if you do things differently, you will perish, right? There's discernment between these things. And I think the main discernment to pay attention to is discerning between, is just being able to discern that when you are on your right path, you never feel icky. You might get nervous. You might have some adrenaline rushes. You might have moments where you feel like maybe a little grief or a little overwhelm, but you never feel the ick factor. And this is really the discernment that we need for life, ever in this life, is just discerning. Sometimes we think, no, I'm supposed to do this because it makes me nervous. So it's just because I'm scared. But it makes me feel kind of terrible and awful and empty inside. That's the discernment, right? Anything that feels like that cannot be chosen in this time. And the only thing that can be chosen is discerning what gives you joy. Yes, you'll be expanding. Yes, you'll be a big learning curve. Yes, there's a ton to learn this month. But it will feel right. Right? So there's a bold message here for you, my friends. If you're looking for more insight into Mercury retrograde and into the weekly energetic pulse, I would highly recommend you go join me over on Patreon. I would love to see you over there. I'm really planning on creating so much more there in the next few months. I'm so excited to sit with you and do that. So you can go connect with me over on Patreon. I also have a few sessions left in February, and I will be opening up more in March. So if you're looking for a one-on-one session with me, feel free to pop on over to my website and you can book right in with me right then and there. So I'll leave all of that info in the description box. You can also find me on Instagram at SARAHTAROT. I'd love to see you there. You can also find PinkLune's beautiful, gorgeous, amazing jewelry on her Etsy shop. All of the goodies are in the description box, as always. I am nervous and excited about February. I think it's going to be an extremely powerful month, and I can't wait to see where it takes us all. I'm sending you so much love, my Sagittarian family. You are my heart and soul, and I wouldn't be where I am today without you. So thank you, and have a beautiful February.